Hari Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So yesterday we have studied about this law. This law is the law governing the sacred art of healing. This law, yesterday I wrote on the board also. Diseases are an effect of the basic centralization of man's life energy. Diseases are an effect of the basic centralization of man's life energy. From the plane whereon those energies are focused, proceed those determining conditions which produce ill health and which therefore work out as disease or as freedom from disease. So, the two things, one is freedom from disease and other is getting into disease. So both these are worked out from the same point. That is the interesting thing. It will be apparent to you therefore that a shift of the inner attention of the patient can and will produce either real freedom from physical ills or an intensification of those reactions which produce discomfort, disease or death. So the shift of the inner attention means at the level of mind. This we have to understand. Because these energies are focused from the higher level of consciousness. And so, it is the same energy. If the energies that are focused are in proper direction, then we will be liberated from the ills, from the sufferings and ills. But if the energies are focused in a negative direction, then we get more deep into disease. So the source is the same. That is what we have to understand from this. So the inner attention of the patient, inner attention means it is at that level. So you see, even the spiritual practice, when we get into the path of spiritual practice, then also we start from the mind only. So therefore, I told you in spiritual psychology, Master E.K. has explained that mind has two different directions, two faces. So this mind is like a pivot, a central point. So if the mind is directed towards body and senses and their activity, then our life becomes problematic. Self-pity. Self-pity and also not only self-pity but self-pity and fear and for all these things. Because it is not self-consciousness, but it is self-centeredness. There are two things. Self-conscious and self-centered. These two are different things. We must very clearly understand. So self-consciousness is a consciousness directed towards the inner self. That is self-consciousness. So that is a proper direction. But the self-centeredness, that causes fear, self-pity and all these things. Self-centered. So these are two different directions. But of the mind only. Because mind is in the middle. Mind, on one side you have senses with their activity, and then body. On the other side, in the higher side, you have buddhi, the power of discrimination, and then the soul. So mind is in the middle. That is why in the scriptures it is said that it is your mind which can condition you or bind you, or which can liberate you also. The key of bondage also is there in the mind. The key of liberation is also in the mind. So mind is in the middle. Generally the tendency of mind is to turn towards senses and body. Buddhi is self-discrimination. It is buddhi, in the buddhic plane, that you have the instrument of discrimination. That is why in Bhagavad Gita also the Lord says, you never surrender to the mind, surrender yourself to the buddhi, to discrimination. Buddhehe saranam anvicha. You surrender to the buddhi. It is intelligence. Buddhic, it is in the buddhic plane. Master has explained in spiritual psychology very clearly about the buddhic plane. Buddhic plane is constituted by buddhic atoms. That is how he explained. It is constituted by the buddhic atoms. Buddhic atoms. Atoms. Buddhic. Because it is constituted by a substance which is made of buddhic atoms. So it is a little bit we have to it is not physical at all. Not at all physical. So the mind, when it is turned towards senses and body, then the lower nature is active in us. Because we come into contact of the objects of the senses, what we call the outer world. So the mind, through the senses, comes into contact with the objects of the senses, sense objects. And then what happens is, through the senses, we receive the impression, the image of the objects of senses. And this image is focused on the mind. And this stimulates the behavior of the mind because mind dominates. And the behavior is affected by the senses and body. Because this is on the lower nature, you have the activation of the instincts, reflexes, and emotions. So all our activity in our daily life is influenced by instincts, reflexes and emotions in the form of a reaction. That is all in the form of reaction to the environment. So this reaction produces a complex effect, because it is in the interaction between when your activity is affected, when the activity of the mind is affected, and it is in the form of reaction because of the influence of these things, lower aspects, because this is all lower to the heart chakra. Downwards of the heart. Heart is the seat of love, that is. But below the heart, the triad, the lower triad, the lower triangle. We have two triangles, lower triangle and upper triangle. So the lower triangle is of base chakra and the sacral chakra and the solar plexus. This is the lower triad. So that is instincts, reflexes and emotions. So this is the lower activity. Yeah, it belongs to the animal kingdom. So even though we have attained human body, but still, if the mind is still directed only towards this lower nature, so the whole activity is on the lower, influenced by the lower triad. Therefore our life is, all experience in our life is in the form of reaction. So we dwell in all these emotions. Our thinking and all these things are influenced by emotions. And as automatically fear and all what we have listed out, all this, they will be stimulated. So this is, mind is the cause for all. So as long as our mind is turned towards this, our experience is always in terms of all these things. So we are influenced by the environment. What we call environment is this experience. Multiple reactions. Yes. All these reactions are based on the impressions received by the mind. This is what is called, by Patanjali, it is called as Chitta Vritti. chitta vritti, behavior of the mind. That is what, once again this Shankaracharya, the Adi Shankaracharya whom I told this morning, he says in another teaching, he says, you are always entangled in this circular form. Once again you enter into the womb of the mother, then you get into the birth, and again accumulate all these things because of this type of behavior, and again you lead yourself into the death, and again going once again into the birth and death and birth, cycles of birth and death in the form of a reaction, in the form of a chain. It is like a chain. So it continues like a chain for how many births like this? Instinctive reaction. No. Everyone has this, but do not use it. Everyone has all these faculties, higher faculties, but unless we enter into the yogic path, unless we enter into, we will not be able to make use of this. We have to, what is all the training lies in how to change the face of the mind from the lower to the higher. Turn it. When you get the training, because for this training you require a guru, a master. So surrender to the master is necessary, because otherwise by yourself, some people say there is no need of a guru master, I can do it myself. You will do it yourself using only this lower mind. How can you do it? The effort you are making is with the same lower mind. Then how is it possible? So you need the help of the master. That is what master has explained in spiritual psychology. You must read the book Spiritual Psychology. Then only you will very clearly understand all these things. Every aspirant should read the book Spiritual Psychology. Yes. Because that is the real psychology. All the modern psychology, it is trash, because it cannot give you any solution. Esoteric psychology. Yeah. Yes. Esoteric psychology. Esoteric psychology is nothing but the explanation of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So this, when the mind is directed upwards, that means your journey upwards, starting from the heart center, because heart center is the seat of love. That is our true existence. Then these will fade away. Instincts, reflex and emotions. Otherwise we dwell in this only. In our daily life, all our actions are in terms of our reaction. When we transact with one person, we live as that person, not as ourselves. An non-yogic person who has not entered into yogic practice, how our life will be is, when you are transacting with a person, so since your attitude is in the form of reaction towards the other person, so your behavior is in terms of the other person, image of the other person. So in one day, if you have a transaction with 100 persons, so you are not living as yourself. It is only as in terms of other person. Master has given a wonderful example for this. He said it is like a cloth. Suppose in a room there is a cloth. One person enters the room and uses this cloth for some time and then leaves it and goes away. Another person will come and he also uses this. Like this 100 persons, if you use the same cloth, so your mind is like this cloth. That is what Master said. Your life is like this. Awful. So, all your behavior is in terms of a reaction according to the impression which your mind received about the other person. So, where is your real life is not that. So, therefore, the whole training of yoga is to turn its mind towards higher buddhi. Because in mind you have different layers. Mind is not a substance. It has different layers. So the lower end of the mind is in contact with senses and body and environment. Higher end is in contact with buddhi. So if you can turn this up, then the mind is absorbed, surrendered to buddhi. Then others will not exist to you, because what you call others is the same inner light. So for you the inner light exists. Your transaction will be the inner person, not as an impression anymore. That is your real existence. Your inner light will be focused now, which is coming from the soul. So this light is coming from the soul, will enlighten all the layers without any interruption, because your mind is turned to buddhi. Then it is no more a reaction, it is only action. Then you do what you have to do, but not you want to do. This is a wonderful Master has given. You have to discriminate between what you have to do and what you want to do. If you cannot make a discrimination between these two, then your life is very problematic for you, not for yourself. You will make it complicated. You observe yourself. Every day, from the moment you wake up, many ideas enter into your mind. I want to do this, I want to do that. Then you put it to discrimination. Is it a need or is it a want? There are two things: needs and wants, needs and desires. Needs and desires. You have to make a discrimination between a need and a desire. Need belongs to the body, desire belongs to the mind. Is it that? Need belongs to the body. For example, you feel hungry, that is a need, that belongs to the body. So then you take food and that is finished. It takes no time to fulfill the need. Finish. So when your hunger is over, then the need is finished. After that, if you want to eat, that is desire. Yes, that is because of the influence of these things. If the mind is turned towards higher, then you will attend to needs and you put away the desires. But desires, you need not fight with the desires. Once again, this also we have to remember. Oh, I want to eliminate my desires. Then you cannot do it. It is only through transformation. By directing the mind to a better thing, then you can do it. Otherwise you cannot. You cannot oppose. If you start opposing with your mind, then it makes very difficult. Very strong, mind is very strong. So not by opposition. That is what you read in Mantra scripture. We read so many times. Not by oppressing. Because this is your inner implement. If you make your mind your enemy, then you have to live with your own enemy in your own house. So therefore, you should first know not to make an enemy in yourself. You have to make a friend. So not by opposing, not by oppressing, not by fighting. So first, when you start discriminating between needs and desires, automatically your mind will lose its influence on you. That is the secret. Because you are not observing your mind, therefore your mind and senses keep on doing what they want. When you start observing, when you keep yourself as an observer and keep observing, then the mind will be alert. Oh, I am being observed, so I must be careful. Yes. So you have to practice observing your mind. Yes. That is the thing. Yes. That is, because everyone has to experience this. We have to practice, we have to experience. Observe. So you have to make a discrimination of needs and desires. So therefore, if any idea comes into our mind, immediately what we have to do? Put a discrimination. Is it a desire or is it a need? If it is a desire, then once again you make a discrimination. Is it useful for the welfare of everybody or not? If it is a desire which has nothing to do with the welfare, then keep it aside, postpone it, not now. Postpone this. We have to practice this. This mercilessly and scrupulously we have to do. Yes. You just make observation. This desire, what we got in the mind, is it for the good of either for the society or for the members of the family, or for? So if it is not for us, if it is only meant for me, then postpone it. You can tell your mind, not now, later. We will see later. This is like a game. Your mind tries to make a trick on you, and it is like a game, and you try to make a trick on your mind to postpone it. You should not say that, oh no, it is not me. No. Then the mind will become stronger. That's the trick. Say later. Yeah, we will do it later. Anantaram. Later. So, we every day in our daily life, we must learn, we must put into practice to make such discrimination between need and desire. If your body needs rest, it will indicate you. Then take rest. But sometimes without need, see, it will be good if I want to sleep. That is a desire. So if you go to sleep when it is not needed for your body, then also you will get into disorder. So anything, either food, drink, rest, sex, or any of these things, in all these things, you must make a discrimination. You must know that if it is need or desire.